This is Mark Thompson. Welcome to the History of Gourds. This is our third in the series, and it studies the impacts of gourds on humankind. I'm a researcher, and I've done a book about the history of gourds. Most of this material comes from that book. I'm going to go through the slides quickly just to give you an orientation to these issues. You can go back and reread these slides later. But the first impact gourds have made is being a crop. It's been a food since the very early times, mostly with the seeds, and then with the immature gourds, it was taken and used for its flesh. Now, most of the crop is centered in Asia. And here's some of the size, which is considerable for how much these countries produce. Gourds have had an impact through history. It's mentioned in the Bible 3 times. Here are the citations. Gourds have had impact through society, seen in paintings, stories, artifacts. Gourds are widely used and used by peoples from around the world. This reflects itself in this painting from 1612. And then we have a famous Rembrandt painting that has a gourd in it. And then here's another one. This is a very large artwork from 1750. So, gourds, can they be found in stories? Sure enough. Here are several, and in my book I give the stories behind some of these tales. But yeah, gourds, since they were so much part of daily life, have found their way into stories. And the famous song from the Civil War era, where the gourd was used as a metaphor for the Big Dipper in the sky and used for the Underground Railroad. There's a little bit of that song. You can go back later and click on the link and hear the whole song. Who has done this research to reveal all this about gourds? Well, it's been a lot the last couple of decades. The archaeologists have done digs and found gourd remains. Genetic work has been done to find the origins of the commercial gourds we have. And I've pulled together scholarly papers and notes from the Smithsonian and Peabody to produce my book. So as we know of today, meaning the last 15 years, yes, gourds were not Asian origin, but African. And they were floated over on the Atlantic Ocean to the New World. And they were domesticated from very early times in Africa and then here in the New World. And the gourds spread widely because they were used as food by some of these very large animals, the mastodons, who could stomach the bitterness of the gourds. And those seeds remains have been found with the remains of those kinds of animals. Then humans took up the gourds and found them useful as containers and also for food, as they domesticated them to make them fruitier, larger, more useful. They're often mentioned in this Three Sisters, the crops that became critical to the North Americans, and especially native Indians. And this is evidenced in the work that's been done by the archaeologists, and they've dug up remains of seeds and rinds in these many places. The indigenous peoples from all these different millennia have evidence of gourds being used. Here are some of the sites where the digs revealed gourd remains. As you can see, they're scattered throughout the U.S. and the world. We can see here a relic from one of the earliest times, and then again another example from a painting that shows gourds since they're an everyday item. And then this photograph of an Indian musician who has gourds nearby. Well, thanks for spending time. I hope you can go back to look at it. I hope you can see my book. Thanks a lot.